When you stop explaining yourself, everything changes. Carl Jung, you are suffocating in your own prison of words. Every day you wake up and immediately begin the exhausting ritual of justifying your existence to people who will never understand you, defending choices that need no defense, explaining dreams that were never meant for their comprehension. You have become a slave to the opinion of others, a performer on a stage where the audience holds knives instead of applause. The truth cuts through the noise like lightning through darkness. You are dying the slow death by explanation, bleeding out your authentic self one justification at a time. This is not living, this is emotional prostitution, selling pieces of your soul for the temporary comfort of being understood by minds that were never meant to grasp your complexity. But today, something inside you shifts, something ancient and powerful stirs in the depths of your being, and you begin to understand what Jung meant when he spoke of the moment everything changes. The modern human has become addicted to the drug of external validation, constantly seeking the approval of a world that operates on the shallow frequencies of conformity and mediocrity. You have built your entire identity around being palatable, digestible, safe for consumption by the masses who fear anything that challenges their comfortable illusions. Your persona, that mask Jung described as the face we show to the world, has become so thick, so perfectly crafted, that you can no longer remember what lies beneath it. You explain your ambitions to those who have settled for less. You justify your unconventional path to those who chose the well-worn road of convention. You defend your authenticity to those who have forgotten what authenticity even means. In doing so, you dilute your power, scatter your energy across 1,000 meaningless conversations, and slowly but surely, you lose yourself in the cacophony of other people's expectations. The shadow, that dark repository of everything we deny about ourselves, grows stronger with every explanation we offer. Each time you justify your choices, you are unconsciously admitting that there might be something wrong with them, that perhaps the voice of the critic is correct, that maybe you should be smaller, quieter, more conventional. The shadow feeds on this self-doubt, this constant need for external validation, until it becomes the dominant force in your psyche, whispering that you are not enough, that your dreams are too big, your vision too radical, your truth too dangerous for this world. You become trapped in a cycle of explanation and justification that serves no one, least of all yourself, because those who truly understand you need no explanation, and those who do and understand will never comprehend no matter how many words you waste trying to make them see. Jung understood that individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, requires you to step away from the collective voice and into the terrifying but liberating space of your own authentic being. When you stop explaining yourself, you are not becoming arrogant or dismissive. You are finally honoring the sacred contract you have with your own soul. You are acknowledging that your path was never meant to be understood by everyone, that your choices were not made for the comfort of others, but for the evolution of your own consciousness. The moment you stop seeking approval is the moment you stop betraying yourself. The moment you reclaim the energy you have been hemorrhaging through endless justifications and redirect it toward the creation of your authentic life. Synchronicity begins to flow when you align with your true self rather than the expectations of others. The universe conspires to support those who have the courage to be themselves without apology, without explanation, without the need for external validation. Doors open that were previously locked. Opportunities appear that were invisible when you were focused on pleasing everyone else. Connections form with people who resonate with your authentic frequency rather than your carefully crafted persona. This is not magic. This is the natural order of things, the way life responds when you stop fighting against your own nature and start flowing with the current of your deepest truth. The archetypes that live within your unconscious, those universal patterns of human experience that Jung mapped so brilliantly, begin to emerge more clearly when you stop explaining yourself to the world. The hero within you no longer needs to justify the quest. The sage no longer needs to defend the wisdom. The rebel no longer needs to explain the revolution. These powerful forces that drive human transformation can only emerge when you create space for them, when you stop cluttering your psyche with the noise of other people's opinions and start listening to the deeper voice that has been trying to guide you all along. Your authentic self knows things that your rational mind cannot comprehend, sees patterns that logic cannot detect, feels the pulse of life in ways that explanation cannot capture. The dragon that guards the treasure of your authentic self is not external criticism or judgment. It is your own addiction to being understood, your own compulsive need to make sense to others. This dragon whispers that if people don't understand you, you must be wrong, that if your choices seem strange to others, you must be making a mistake, that if your path looks different from everyone else's, you must be lost. But the greatest treasures of life are always guarded by the fiercest dragons, and the treasure of authentic selfhood can only be claimed by those brave enough to stop explaining themselves and start living themselves. The dragon of external validation has no power over those who have found their own approval, no hold over those who have learned to trust their inner compass, even when it points toward territories that others fear to explore. When you stop explaining yourself, you discover that most people were never really listening anyway. They were waiting for their turn to speak, looking for confirmation of their own beliefs, seeking reassurance that their choices were correct by ensuring yours were wrong. The conversations you thought were about understanding were actually about control, about keeping you small enough to fit into their limited worldview, about ensuring that your light didn't shine too brightly and make them question their own dimness. The moment you withdraw from these futile exchanges is the moment you reclaim your power, the moment you stop feeding the vampire of collective mediocrity with the life force of your authentic expression. Silence becomes your ally when you stop explaining yourself. Not the silence of withdrawal or defeat, but the silence of confidence, the silence of someone who knows their own worth without needing external confirmation. This silence speaks louder than 1,000 explanations, communicates more clearly than the most eloquent justification, and creates space for something deeper and more meaningful to emerge. In this silence, you finally hear the voice of your own wisdom, the guidance of your own inner authority, the truth that has been waiting patiently beneath the noise of everyone else's opinions. Your authentic self speaks in whispers, not shouts, in feelings, not words, in knowing, not explaining. The threshold you must cross to stop explaining yourself is the threshold between living for others and living for your own soul's evolution. This is perhaps the most difficult crossing of all, because it means letting go of the illusion that you can control what others think of you, that you can manipulate their perception through clever explanations, that you can win their approval through constant justification. On the other side of this threshold lies freedom, the kind of freedom that can only come from internal validation, from the deep knowing that you are exactly who you are meant to be, walking exactly the path you are meant to walk, regardless of whether anyone else understands or approves. Your suffering around the need to explain yourself is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are being called to a deeper level of authenticity. The discomfort you feel when others misunderstand you is not a problem to be solved through better explanations. It is a teacher pointing you toward the liberation that comes from self-acceptance. Jung knew that our greatest wounds often become our greatest strengths, that the places where we suffer most intensely are often the places where we are being invited to transform most radically. Your sensitivity to misunderstanding is not a weakness. It is the birth pang of a more authentic way of being in the world. The paradox of explanation is that the more you explain, the more you need to explain, because each explanation creates doubt about why an explanation was necessary in the first place. But when you stop explaining, something magical happens. People either accept you as you are, or they don't, and both outcomes become equally acceptable because your worth is no longer dependent on their understanding. This is not indifference. This is wisdom. The wisdom that comes from knowing that your value does not fluctuate based on other people's comprehension, that your truth does not become less true because others cannot grasp it, that your path does not become wrong because others would choose differently. When you stop explaining yourself, you model something revolutionary for others. The possibility of existing without apology, of choosing without justification, of being authentic without explanation. You become a living demonstration that it is possible to honor your truth without needing everyone else to validate it. That strength comes not from winning arguments, but from transcending the need to have them. That the most powerful response to misunderstanding is often no response at all. In your silence, others may hear the permission they have been waiting for to stop explaining themselves, to step into their own authenticity, to trust their own inner knowing, even when the world questions their choices. The energy you have been pouring into explanations is energy that belongs to your dreams, your creativity, your growth, your evolution. Every minute spent justifying yourself to those who will never understand is a minute stolen from the work of becoming who you truly are. When you redirect this energy toward your own development, toward the cultivation of your gifts, toward the expression of your authentic self, you discover reserves of power you never knew you possessed. The life force that was scattered across 1,000 meaningless conversations suddenly becomes available for the one conversation that truly matters. The dialogue between your conscious mind and your deeper self, the negotiation between who you have been and who you are becoming. This is your moment of recognition, the flash of lightning that illuminates the prison you have built from other people's expectations. You see clearly now that every explanation you have ever given was a betrayal of your own sovereignty. Every justification, a vote against your own worthiness. Every attempt to make others understand a denial of your right to exist as you are. The key to your freedom has always been in your pocket. You simply forgot it was there, distracted by the noise of voices that were never meant to guide your path. When you stop explaining yourself, everything changes because you finally remember who you are beneath all the masks, beyond all the justifications, deeper than all the explanations you have ever given or ever will give. The call is clear and urgent. Stop explaining yourself and start living yourself. In the comments below, share the one thing you have been over-explaining in your life. Subscribe to continue this journey of awakening. The path of individuation is not a journey you take once. It is a daily choice to honor your authentic self over the comfortable lie of conformity. Make that choice now. Make it without explanation. Watch as everything changes.